Well, hey now, everybody. It is the Rob from Kiss 106 and 103gbfrocks.com. Again, with my tag team partner in podcasting, the suicidal, homicidal, genocidal, I think I said that wrong, Jerry Valeri. Good morning, Jer.
Good morning, Rob. How did you enjoy kicking grounds, stomping ass, and taking names?
Okay, was that a legit question, or are you just going for the joke there?
I was just going for the joke.
Okay.
I was going for the joke, but I am, we can jump right into that. Did you have a good weekend?
Weekend was fine. Saturday was really busy, and Sunday was very relaxing. How was yours?
Mine was a nightmare as always. We drove 4 hours to go to Rochester on Friday night, and then we were there a full day on Saturday and drove 4 more hours to come back on Sunday morning.
What was going on in Rochester?
What's the point? Just guilt trips to go visit Kelly's family.
A literal guilt trip.
It really was. It put the trip in guilt trip. That's for sure.
Well, wait, have you just not been there in a while?
It was that, and I don't know. I stay out of it. Truly, when it comes to that, I'm just like, I have enough to deal with when it comes to my own family's guilt trips. You're feeling guilty. You've got to go. Your mom's making plans. Let's get in the car.
You said enough.
Just get in the car. I'll do it.
As Howard Stern would say, you said it all.
But I tried my best to weasel out of it because I had a broadcast Friday till 3, and I was just like, hey, if you want to get out there earlier, I'll understand. No, we'll wait for you. Shoot. And
I love when you also, because I do that too. Like you try to guise it as I'm trying to be, I'm trying to be the good guy. If you have to go without me, I understand. If
you want to get out there on Thursday, you want to go a day early. I understand. I've got broadcasts. You do what you have to do, and then I have to work on Monday. So if you can stay an extra day, go ahead. Just if you want to leave the house for a month, I'm okay with it. Like, just take the kids with you.
Real quick, what was your driving to not driving time? So like you spent, 8 hours in the car?
8 hours in the car to
36 hours there?
About.
Pal.
I know. And if you break the ratio up, because Kelly will give me crap. She'll be like, you're driving to see Rob for 3 days, and that's 20 hours in the car. And I'm like, but that's still a better ratio than what we just pulled.
It's the ratio is still better. That's right.
Plus, I'm going to see Rob, and I would drive further.
And I guess I won't see you this coming weekend, will I?
You won't, but you're going to be actually in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
That's right, I will be. I'm just sad I'm going to be in Pennsylvania and not see the champ.
Speaking of 10-hour drives, hey, bring a boat.
Oh, is it bad?
Bring a kayak at least. Yeah, it's the whole state. It's turning into. It's just like last summer. Last summer, it only rained twice. Once for 35 days and then once for 40 days.
So did you watch, were you home in time to watch all of Stomping Grounds?
Got home and got to watch Stomping Grounds. And I had no expectations or high hopes for this pay-per-view at all going into it. None. Okay,
I want to throw this out there by saying, and I will try to keep this in mind with everything we review on the show. I did not give the show 100% of my attention. I was in the same room as it the whole time. I was on the couch the whole time. I was unable to give it 100% of my attention. Now,
were you falling asleep?
No. I was just bored. And I thought that was half my fault. I gave myself a little chore to do. I was going through all my old photos and videos and deleting stuff I don't need anymore, freeing up space on my phone. I thought this would be a perfect time because this show sucks.
It's not your fault. I do not blame you. In fact, I read somewhere that it was like a 3-hour show, 3.5-hour show. It ended up being a shorter pay-per-view than usual.
Which I appreciate, although still longer than the 3 hours I like.
I didn't notice it. I thought it was a long show. I thought I was so fatigued by the end of it. I was so bored and like just wanting it to be over, especially when you can telegraph the end of a match when the match hasn't even started yet. Like if we jump to the very end, Lacey Evans, while I think a very clever and well done way to prolong the one feud with Becky Lynch. The minute she comes out, I go, okay, so this ends with Becky Lynch in the ring, or at least we're going to get Becky soon.
That was the only problem. And boy, you took the words right out of my mouth. I thought that was a unique choice, a cool choice. If we couldn't go with Brock, we had Paul instead, and we went with Lacey Evans. Definitely a surprise move. No one was saying Lacey Evans, so I was all on board. But then, I'm sorry, when she's walking to the ring, you're 100% right in that. I imagine every single one of us knew how this was going to end.
Knew how it was going to end, and it did pour a ton of heat on her. And then all of a sudden, all of the Michael Cole foreshadowing finally hit me like a ton of bricks. Because if you go all the way to the beginning of the pay-per-view, I did make note of it. That because we'd said how like WWE seems to be going all in on Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins as a couple, but they haven't said anything, but they've kind of just tipped their hat to it. Michael Cole, if he said it once, he said it 100 times. Becky Lynch, Seth Rollins' girlfriend. Seth Rollins, Becky Lynch's boyfriend, is going to be defending the title later tonight. And he mentioned that they were a couple. Really, they hammered it a bunch throughout the show.
Right.
And then at the end, you see why. So people see the connection with Lacey Evans coming out.
Yeah, I mean, even with what I'll just call like open couples, like Cena and Nikki Bella, or Brie and Daniel Bryan, or Miz and Maurice, like they never nail the point like that. Yeah,
they hammered that one. My thoughts on the main event, Baron Corbin. It's tough here. Baron Corbin is not a bad wrestler. He's a big guy. He's like 6'7", 6'8". He's huge.
Very tall.
He looks fine. He's got a pretty cool moveset, a power moveset. He's gotten better on the mic. He knows how to get people pissed. But he doesn't belong in a main event. Not a one-on-one main event of a pay-per-view. He's not there yet. I don't know if he'll ever be there.
Here,
I just don't know what it is.
Let me piggyback
off credit
because I think I might know what it is. And you're not wrong. He's not a bad wrestler. I don't think you'd think he's a great wrestler, but it's not his wrestling ability that's the problem. And you're right. He's very tall, but he's not charismatic. And charisma is often attributed with baby faces, and a trait that they are oftentimes required to have. But charisma works both ways. And I just don't think the crowd really cares about him. I mean, yeah, he's tall, but he's not really special looking.
Yeah, you don't get that same feeling like when Drew McIntyre comes out.
Yes. You're
like, ooh, look at this guy.
This guy could kick my ass. I said ass.
He could kill me. And then you've got Shane McMahon beside him, like hyping him up, and even Shane McMahon seems like bigger than life. You know, I know what you mean. Baron Corbin as physically big, but just personality-wise doesn't feel bigger than life.
Yeah, and like I'm trying to think of a great example of a heel. I guess like I don't know, in
Samoa Joe.
Yeah, when Samoa Joe's on screen, the crowd wants him to lose. And then when Baron Corbin's on screen, they want him off screen.
It's a different kind of heat.
Yeah.
And you know, we're starting at the end, but let's talk about the heat. Let's talk about the crowd. I mean, Tacoma, Washington was not kind in that match. You got AEW chants. You got this is stupid chants. It was pretty brutal. I didn't think Lacey Evans was that bad an idea, but there were a lot of. I mean, they were borderline hijacking the main event.
Well, when you give us Baron Corbin in the main event, I believe in that freedom of speech, pal. I just, you know, if you guys are the ones who are saying we're listening to you and we're giving you what you want, and you know, you're kind of cherry picking when you're doing that, which is really what you've always done.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And, you know, to that point, the crowd at one point I thought was going to hijack another match, but it ended up adding to it. I enjoyed Heavy Machinery versus Bryan and Rowan more than I thought I would.
I like Heavy Machinery.
I liked that match, and I liked the way that match started. I liked how it started in the back. I mean, let's go to the very beginning of the show. I thought the show, the first like 4 matches, the first hour and 30 minutes, it felt like it was booked by somebody other than Vince McMahon. And it was a fast pace. It was fun. The match qualities were good. And then all of a sudden they just hit the brakes.
Yeah, when did the brakes get hit for you?
The brakes hit for me. It was either Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre or Bayley Alexa. I forget which comes first, but it was right in that block. And it's Roman and Drew and Bayley and Alexa. And then, unfortunately, I thought Kofi and Dolph saved for the ending. The finish was cool. I thought that match was not good. And then the main event was what the main event was.
What was the best match? Was it Ricochet and Joe?
It was either Ricochet or Joe, or I'm reading a lot of people saying Daniel Bryan and Rowan versus Heavy Machinery, but if I were going to pick a tag match, it would be Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, and the New Day. They put it on. That was a good match.
I feel like me saying what my favorite match was would not be fair, because I didn't give every match the same level of attention.
I'd say Ricochet and Joe, because it was not only a good match, it started well, the psychology was there, they did a really good job, but the ending, the finish was really fun. You know, you have Ricochet winning, you have him surprising just about everybody there, and then they follow him to the back, and he's getting hugs and high fives. And Triple H gives him that NXT hug. And then they go right into Heavy Machinery's music, and they come out, and that gives them a bit of a rub. And it just, the pace of the show, I was like, we're looking at a sleeper pay-per-view. And then it became a sleeper pay-per-view, literally. I fell asleep.
See, what you were talking about for the first half of the show, I only felt during that one match.
Oh, I liked starting with Becky and Lacey. I didn't mind that at all. Lacey Evans came out, and I immediately got half a Chebbaroo. What was hotter, her in that red outfit at the beginning and she pulls the skirt off and like, holy smokes, or when she comes out in the ref?
Both.
Oh.
See, here's the thing. Like, we're used to her being sexy on the walk to the ring, but we're not used to getting chubbed by the ref.
Eat your heart out,
unless Mike Chioda's there. Eat your heart
out, Hebner. You're no longer the hottest ref, Hebner.
Oh, stop with the Hebner nonsense. You know Chioda's got it going on.
Chioda is the man.
Who's the ref who screwed up the WrestleMania finish? That's the sexiest ref.
Yeah, that's the guy that was at the end. What's his name? He did the main event for this one.
I don't even know. I'm not positive I've ever known his name. If anyone knows that guy's name, but he's the best looking referee. You know, if you want my honest opinion, I'm comfortable to say.
You think?
Oh yeah. He's like, there's one who's like clearly in a league above the rest. I'm getting it up.
It's not Lil Nate.
No, not sure. Charles Robinson.
No, it's not him.
Hold on. Who?
I'm getting it here.
The ref for.
Oh yeah, he's got biceps.
Yeah, he's a very attractive, especially for like in the land of Tim Whites. He's like a Michael Buffer.
I'm having a hard time getting his name though, buddy.
Hold on.
Rod Zapata. Rod Zapata.
All right, hold on. Yeah, he's a good-looking guy, right?
Yeah.
Rod Zapata?
He's not Zapata? How do you say it?
I think it's Zapata. I feel like now that you say that, I've heard it. But, I mean, I really feel like in the modern day, you've got Rod Zapata, and then you've got everybody else.
No, now you have Lacey Evans, and then Rod Zapata.
So,
sorry, Lacey, you're no Rod Zapata.
And I know that there's going to be people who are like, hey, Rob, don't forget about Rudy Charles, Dan Engler, or don't forget about John Cone, because I know that there's a contingent of Cone heads out there. Listen, I'm not saying these guys are bad. I'm just saying Rod Zapata, I see you.
Ironically, when Lacey Evans came out in that ref shirt, I started thinking about my Rod Zapata. I couldn't keep my hands off my Rod Zapata.
Excellent work, Jer. Yes, and you continue to prove you are the reigning, defending champion of masturbation jokes.
Thanks. When you start talking about my jokes,
ladies and gentlemen,
Brock Lesnar,
the reigning, defending, undisputed champion of masturbation jokes, Jerry Valeri.
Yeah, that's right.
The king is here.
My name is Rob Hirschfuel, and we want to talk about masturbation jokes. You're worthy. Oh, stop it. You're worthy.
I had to keep going until you actually looked at me.
I saw you, pal. I saw you. I liked it. I appreciated it.
So
when did it hit the brakes for you? You only liked that second match, huh?
It wasn't bad. Okay, so first match was Lacey Evans and Becky Lynch, and I would just call that fine. That match had a fine build. Execution was fine. It's the women, so it is what it is. But it was fine. What was next? New Day, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Not a lot of story. Yeah.
I mean, I guess there was some story, but for these four in particular, not a lot of story. But four incredible performers. You're getting what you get. You
know what, Jer? Here's my answer for you. I'm going to be honest with you. The show never hit the gas for me.
I guess I was willing to have it. It was gas there because it was a fast pace. There were a lot of cut scenes and a lot of stuff in between. There was a Mustafa Ali promo somewhere in there. Like, it just felt like they're not going to give you a break. They're just going to keep it running. They're going to keep the car running the whole way through.
Well, and if you look at the last 7 pay-per-views as an example, up until recently, you would have reason to think that. The pay-per-views in 2019, up through what was, Money in the Bank, really, is when things started going south.
Yeah.
After that, like Super Showdown-ish time. What was there one before that I'm missing? Am I missing a show? Because Money in the Bank, I thought, wasn't that pretty good?
Yeah, but Money in the Bank was almost like right after. There wasn't much after WrestleMania.
Yeah, that was the first pay-per-view. So I guess really just Super Showdown has kind of started the trend of the bad pay-per-views, and that one's kind of an exception.
Sure, but this one is hard to call bad because it didn't get bad for a while. And even when it was bad, it wasn't unwatchable. But it just got boring. Ironically, the last good match, I think, was Daniel Bryan and Rowan versus Heavy Machinery. And then after that, it just slowed down. And it's funny that it starts getting crappy here because other than Bayley and Alexa Bliss, we're now into main eventer territory. You've got Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre. You've got Kofi Kingston and Dolph Ziggler in a cage. You've got Seth Rollins with that mystery gimmick that at least made Baron Corbin's tolerable. And they couldn't. Nobody paid off, and Kofi and Dolph did not pay off at all. Like, that was. So I hope they move on from that.
I wanted to stop you earlier, but I do want to disagree. That was Jerry's thoughts. I do think this was a bad pay-per-view.
You do?
I do. I can give it a D, and I don't think a D plus, and I don't think a D minus, and sometimes I can waver back and forth, but. If you look at what I like out of pay-per-views, and I've got my 3-tiered system, I feel like this hit none of my notches. My notches being, I want storyline progression.
Mm-hmm.
No, that really didn't do much for me.
Except for the one storyline.
Water cooler moments, definitely not. And then great wrestling. For the standards of 2019 pay-per-views, man, I'm going to pass on that one.
I can see it being a D. For sure. I would have given it a C minus, but I'm not in the mood to argue on behalf of
wait,
this
we don't have to
pay-per-view.
We can have 2 different scores.
Yeah, because this pay-per-view just didn't. It's funny. At the end of it, I thought, I wonder what the water cooler moment is going to be. I wonder what they're going to say it is. They're going to maybe say it's Becky Lynch coming out to defend her boyfriend and beat up Lacey Evans, and then at the end, they're like, they do everything but kiss. She holds the ropes for him. He gets out, and it's like this couple. Like, they're going to make me not like them as a couple is what they're going to end up doing. They're going to shove it down my throat. But then I'm reading today, and they're saying the big moment, the big moment. So I don't know what you wrote for this review, but they're saying the big moment was Ricochet winning the U.S. Championship and his moment. And I'm like, if that's your water cooler moment, you are not doing it right.
I called this video Lacey Evans is the ref for Baron Corbin versus Seth Rollins.
That works too. By the end of it, I thought I stopped thinking it was Seth gonna be. I stopped thinking it was gonna be Shane McMahon after Shane broke my heart by challenging Roman Reigns tonight to a 2-on-1. Like, that's still not going to stop, I guess. And I thought
that's giving more credence to your thought process that you've had since like before Mania.
I was kind of getting hyped for Bray Wyatt. I thought, what if Bray Wyatt comes out? What if Bray Wyatt cuts a Firefly Funhouse and they're all about fair play and all about being down the middle and being fair, and then we start working those hurt and heel gloves into it a little more, and then Firefly Funhouse ends and he comes out as the referee. Happy Bray Wyatt.
Sure.
But then by the end of it, the lights go out, it turns on, and he's got the Fiend mask on, and he beats the hell out of Seth Rollins, and we're off to the races. But this is why I don't fantasy book, because I always upset myself.
Mm-hmm. No, that's
I just want to see Bray Wyatt, and I don't. Tonight's the night, maybe. Who knows?
Don't know, but I mean, I prefer when they have those special moments happen on the pay-per-view. Personally,
yeah, I heard. Did you hear? And is there any legitimacy at all to they're going to stop wrestling during the commercials? They're going to go to rounds.
So yes and no. So here's what I think. And if you don't know, Mike shared this on our post-to-post Facebook page. And I did.
To be fair, I'd heard it before that.
Yeah, no, I read it last night, and I think it's something that they're toying with. I don't think it's going to stick around. But that's just,
I mean, I see what they're saying is, it's not like any hockey game is being played during commercial breaks.
Right. You're not missing any of the football game.
So if the WWE were to do this, there's only one way to do it, and they won't do it this way, but there's only one way to do it. You have your match, and then when the match is over, then you cut to these commercials. That's it. A football game doesn't stop for commercials. Now they have elongated television timeouts, and they have them prepared. So when it does stop, when the ball is dead or there's a touchdown, then they go to commercial, and then they come back. Do that. But they're not. They're going to I see them stopping in the middle of a match and waiting because they still need to get their stupid promos in. They still need to have Corey Graves telling us what's going on later tonight. They need their recap packages. You need to cut all that business out, pal.
I just think it's not broken right now. I mean, it's and honestly, you can have that be one of the selling points for the network and the pay-per-views is, you get all the action. We don't have to go to break. And, I just think it's not even broken now.
It's not broken in that way. Everyone's talking about the ratings and they need to fix it. But if this is how they're fixing it, then they're not looking at what's really broken.
Well,
I think what's really broken
is
the stuff they're really unwilling to fix. Like, if you really think about what WWE's problem is from a viewership perspective, I think the biggest issue is one they will never address, and it's the fact that Raw is 3 hours and SmackDown might become 3 hours. There's just too much of it.
Okay, so you said everyone's talking about the ratings, and who's talking about the ratings? Because all I see is they signed a $2 billion deal with Fox. So whoever's watching at Fox isn't concerned about the WWE's ratings.
Well, that's the story now, as Meltzer says, that Fox is concerned about the ratings. But I don't know what to believe. It's just the internet wanting to take a crap on the WWE. So I have to sift through that filter because sometimes they're right and the ratings are garbage and things do need to change. I do believe that, but it's just this, I need to sift through that AEW is the best and WWE sucks and everything WWE does sucks and say suck. That's too much for me. I can't abide that. So I try to sift through that filter. It's tough, though, because everybody was reporting the same stuff.
So remember when it was a week or two ago, you and I were talking about how you know, like when we see family, like people always ask us how the ratings are doing. And we said it's not like it was in the 80s and 90s where the ratings are what make and break it. I feel like that's happening in television too. It's just like, so the product has been bad and the ratings have been down, but the ratings are down because of all the alternatives. And like everyone's ratings are down. If that's the measuring stick we're using. I don't mean just like, I mean everything, you know, it's like, because there's so many more choices now. Like MTV's numbers are down, but MTV's fine.
Right. Nobody's comparing the Big Bang Theory's ratings, and they were number one forever, to Friends. And you couldn't compare Friends to Cheers, and you couldn't compare Cheers to MASH, because when MASH was on television, it was the only show on television.
Correct. So,
and like MASH was like the most watched show of all time, like the finale of MASH. But that's because you either had to watch MASH or like those colored bars on your screen with the EAS running underneath it.
That was a perfect analogy. And let me ask you this, Jer. Would you rather have a $500 million TV deal with a 5.0 rating every Monday? Or would you rather have a 1.9 rating and a $2 billion TV deal?
Right.
That's why I'm saying the rate. I know people are talking about it, but it's not important.
But do you think the WWE does recognize that the product is not pleasing?
Okay, so let me pose it to you this way then. I think that they know Raw drags and 3 hours is a lot for people to sit through. But again, I pose the question. You can have Raw for 2 hours and have a $500 million TV deal, or have Raw for 3 hours and have a $2 billion TV deal.
Well, that's why they're never going to change it. And it also is insulting when they say they want to do things for the fans, because that's not what they're doing anymore. These Saudi Arabia shows aren't for the fans, they're for the money. 3 hour Raw is not for the fans, it's for the money. Just go ahead and say it, because I know that's what's happening.
That's what I'm saying. They're concerned about revenue, not ratings. They're a company. And to be fair, we work for companies that are the same way.
Absolutely. But don't you think at some point there's a law of diminishing returns where if you keep turning people off, less people will show up and you will start at some point to lose money?
Sure. But again, I still think it comes down to the dollars and cents thing. If you are going to take money off the books by making Raw an hour shorter, they're not going to do it. Just not going to do it.
I'm interested by there are a lot of people that I know, and I say a lot, it's just a small sample size, but there are 5 people that I talk wrestling with on a regular basis, and you're the only one with me that still watches. And I'm like, what is going on, guys? Like, my brother-in-law is not watching anymore. I got a couple friends that won't watch anymore. I think that's silly because they're missing some pretty good stuff too.
Look,
but
you'll get this. Even when the Steelers are having a bad season, don't you still watch?
I do. I don't watch as much or as closely, but I'm always paying attention.
Look, not every month, week, year is a winner for WWE fans either, but we still watch because we love it. We love our team.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I get that. I'm excited to see what AEW does just because it'll give me like an alternative. But for people that think they're going to just come in and be your WWE, that's not going to happen.
No, I mean, at best, it's going to take several years. And listen, I want that to happen. I want them to keep WWE honest. I want them to be a legit form of competition. And maybe they will. Or, you know what? Even if you just give me an hour or two of good wrestling every week, I'll still be happy with that.
You wanted that from TNA and thought at one point that could happen, and it never did.
It did happen. There was definitely a solid year or so where TNA's product was better than Raw, where Impact was better than Raw. I'm talking like 07, 08-ish. I was watching Impact with more interest than I was watching Raw. And again, this was at least a year.
Was that Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, or was that like Joker Sting and Hulk Hogan stuff?
They got me interested when Kurt Angle came over. And that's when I started sampling. And it took a little while, but it got to be better than WWE. And WWE was in its lull. Like I told you before, their lull was like 06 through 10. And I would say like 07, 08, and probably even parts of 09, Impact was better than Raw. I've been honest about that one.
I was never a fan of their ring. It didn't turn me off, but I was just never a fan of it.
Well, it was a 4-sided ring when I was watching.
And then they went to 6 at some point, didn't they?
Oh, well, I may have been in between because they went from 6 to 4 and then back to 6. And I forget where my tenure went, as far as that stuff goes. But yeah, I mean, they were doing great stuff with Angle, Jarrett,
Christian.
Ron. Yeah, Christian was a part of it. Ron Killings was doing great. AJ Styles. I mean, it was a really good product.
Also, congratulations to R-Truth. Speaking of Ron Killings, you are now 24/7 champion yet again.
And also congratulations to you for defending your Lock of Destiny. We just agreed on 3 matches, and you beat me on those first 2.
Yeah. So which were the 2? Because I didn't have the sheet in front of me. I know Ricochet was the one I got.
You got that one, and then you also got you picked KO and Sami Zayn. I did pick Roman Reigns, but at that point it was too late.
And at one point in that match, I thought, here we go. Shane McMahon's involved. Roman's going to lose. Roman's going to lose again.
However, if you want to take solace in this, while you did lose that one particular match, it looks like the way you've been booking this story, the overarching story seems to be correct.
It's going to end up being Shane McMahon and Roman Reigns, a big match, and I think it's a SummerSlam match. I do.
If that's what happens, you can say you called that one from the get-go.
And then I'll apologize to everybody. Sorry I did that to you.
So anything, I feel like, we didn't go like match by match as much, but I feel like we got our opinions across.
Well, yeah, we covered it. I think we covered it. I definitely feel like it was a tale of 2 shows. I thought that it felt like it had been booked differently at one point. Like somebody else grabbed a hold of it.
So I'm sticking with the D. Are you sticking with a C-?
C-, yeah, D+ I could do. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
I mean, if you don't agree, if you don't believe in a D+, you don't have to try to meet me.
I do. I mean, like, I'm okay with it. I'm okay.
Okay.
I could mark them down with some of the boring stuff that happened. But Lacey Evans, she was on fire, pal.
Your Rod Zapata.
She was giving me a Rod Zapata issue like you wouldn't believe.
Hey, if anyone thinks that we're right on the money or if we're far off base, I love when we talk about these shows in the comments. Always love seeing you guys. I know Steve sometimes has different takes. Mike sometimes has different takes, and everyone.
I do feel like people dump on it more than us. I think we get the most disagreements when we like a show.
Really?
I do. I think typically people like the crap all over the WWE.
Wait, I think in general you're right, but I think on the post-to-post Facebook page, I feel like we get it more when we dislike a show, but I might be wrong about that.
Maybe. We'll have to check it out.
Yeah, well, let us know what you thought about it. We're kind of saying, if you want to round us together, we're saying D+-ish.
Yeah, bad show.
Yeah, Jerry seemed like the first half. I didn't even really go that far, but I would say, the Ricochet part was the highlight for me.
It was fun.
So what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments today, please. For myself, the Rob, and my tag team partner, Mr. Jerry Valeri, have a great Monday. Enjoy Raw. We will reconvene tomorrow with another episode of Post to Post.
And leave it to Tacoma, Washington to start a Drive a Prius chant. You hippies.